Shadows remember everything, even the screams. You're watching Unwanted Files. If fear excites you, like, share, and subscribe. More nightmares await. What if I told you that an entire village of 1,500 people vanished overnight, leaving behind only empty houses, unfinished meals, and a curse so powerful that nothing has grown there for over 200 years? In the heart of Rajasthan's Thar Desert lies Kuldhara, a ghost town where the very stones seem to whisper warnings to anyone brave enough to listen. The locals say that whoever tries to settle here will face ruin, disaster, and death. But what really happened on that fateful night in 1825? Why did 84 entire villages abandon everything they'd ever known? And why does this place still terrify even the most hardened paranormal investigators? Today we're diving deep into India's most haunted village, a place where history, mystery, and the supernatural collide in ways that will challenge everything you believe about the impossible. This is a story of love, betrayal, sacrifice, and a curse that may be more real than you think. To understand the curse of Kuldhara, we need to travel back in time, back to when this wasn't a ghost town, but a thriving center of commerce and culture in the Thar Desert. Picture this. It's the year 1291 AD. The Paliwal Brahmins, master stonemasons and skilled farmers, established what would become one of the most prosperous settlements in Rajasthan. These weren't ordinary villagers. They were innovators, engineers who could make the desert bloom. The Paliwals developed an intricate water harvesting system that seemed almost magical. In a land where water is more precious than gold, they created reservoirs, step wells, and underground channels that sustained not just Kuldhara, but 83 surrounding villages. Their yellow sandstone houses rose from the desert like monuments to human ingenuity. For over 500 years, children played in these very streets we see abandoned today. Merchants traveled from far and wide to trade with the Paliwals. Their reputation for honesty and craftsmanship spread across kingdoms. This was a community that had mastered the art of not just surviving in the desert, but thriving in it. But prosperity, as we'll see, can be a dangerous thing when it attracts the wrong kind of attention. Enter Salim Singh, the Prime Minister of Jaisalmer State and quite possibly one of the most despicable figures in Rajasthan's history. Salim Singh wasn't just corrupt, he was sadistic. Known for his cruelty and insatiable greed, he had already earned the hatred of his subjects through excessive taxation and brutal punishments. But the Paliwal's prosperity had caught his eye, and what Salim Singh wanted, he took. The harassment began slowly. Increased taxes that made no sense, arbitrary fines for imaginary infractions, demands for free labor on his construction projects. The Paliwals, being a peaceful community, initially tried to comply, hoping to appease the tyrant. Then came the demand that would change everything. According to legend, Salim Singh had seen the village chief's daughter, a beautiful young woman whose name history has preserved as precious as her memory. And Salim Singh, despite already having multiple wives, decided he must have her. The ultimatum was simple and horrifying. Hand over the girl to become his concubine or face consequences that would destroy not just Kuldhara, but all 84 Paliwal villages. The wedding was to take place the very next day. But the Paliwals had a different plan, a plan so audacious, so desperate, that it would echo through the centuries. What happened next defies all logic and explanation. In a single night, between sunset and sunrise, 1,500 people simply disappeared. Imagine being a traveler approaching Kuldhara at dawn on that fateful morning. The sun rises over the desert as it has for centuries, but something is terribly wrong. The usual sounds of a waking village, children crying, animals stirring, morning prayers are absent. There's only silence. Every single house stands empty. Cooking fires are cold, but meals sit half-prepared on tables. Children's toys lie scattered in courtyards. Wells that had provided water for generations stand unused. It's as if the entire population had vanished mid-action. But here's what makes this story so extraordinary and so terrifying. How do 1,500 people disappear without a trace? We're not talking about a small family slipping away in the night. We're talking about an entire civilization. Men, women, children, the elderly, livestock, everything. Yet there were signs this wasn't random. Valuable items were missing, suggesting they took what they could carry. But they left behind their homes, their farms, their entire way of life. The Paliwals had made a choice: freedom over everything they had built. Before they left, according to legend, the village elders performed a ritual. They cursed the land itself, declaring that Kuldhara would remain barren forever, that anyone who tried to settle here would face ruin and death, that the very soil would reject any attempt at new life. Archaeological surveys have found evidence of the sudden abandonment. Personal items left behind, tools abandoned mid-use, even jewelry hidden in walls, as if the owners planned to return, but they never did. And here's the most chilling part: it wasn't just Kuldhara. 83 other Paliwal villages emptied that same night. Thousands of people, across hundreds of miles, all vanished simultaneously. How do you coordinate the evacuation of an entire civilization without anyone noticing? So was the curse real? For over 200 years, the evidence suggests it might be. Historical records show that various groups have tried to settle Kuldhara over the centuries. Every single attempt has ended in disaster. Crops failed in soil that had once been fertile. Wells that had provided sweet water for centuries turned bitter. Families reported illness, bad luck, and worse. In the 1940s, a family of farmers tried to establish a homestead in one of the abandoned houses. Within 3 months, their eldest son had died in a freak accident. Their crops withered despite adequate rainfall, and their livestock began dying one by one. They fled, spreading word that the curse was real. Even the government tried to resettle the area in the 1960s as part of rural development programs. Officials who visited the site reported equipment malfunctions, sudden illnesses among workers, and an oppressive atmosphere that made people want to leave as quickly as possible. Today, paranormal investigators and curious visitors report phenomena that can't be easily explained. Temperature drops of 10-15 degrees in specific locations, the sound of children laughing when no children are present, glimpses of figures in traditional dress who vanish when approached. Skeptics point to logical explanations: the psychological power of suggestion, the harsh desert environment, the natural tendency for abandoned structures to deteriorate. They argue that 200 years of stories and legends have created a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yet the fact remains: in a region where people have lived for thousands of years, where every patch of habitable land is precious, Kuldhara remains empty. Even in modern Rajasthan, with its booming population and need for housing, no one has successfully resettled here. Local guides refuse to stay in the village after sunset. They speak of voices calling from empty houses, of shadows moving where no one walks, of an overwhelming sense of sadness that seems to emanate from the very stones. In recent decades, Kuldhara has attracted everyone from paranormal researchers to archaeological teams, each trying to uncover the truth behind the mystery. The Archaeological Survey of India, which now protects the site, has made some fascinating discoveries. Excavations reveal sophisticated urban planning, underground drainage systems, strategic placement of houses for maximum cooling, and engineering that was centuries ahead of its time. Perhaps most intriguingly, they found evidence of the Paliwal's water management system, a network so complex that even modern engineers struggle to understand how it worked. Some experts believe the Paliwals possessed hydraulic knowledge that has since been lost to history. Today, thousands of tourists visit Kuldhara every year, drawn by the mystery and the remarkably preserved ruins. The village has become Rajasthan's most famous ghost town, featured in documentaries, books, and countless YouTube videos. But for all the attention, perhaps the most powerful aspect of visiting Kuldhara is the human story it tells. Walking through these streets, you can almost feel the presence of the families who once called this place home. Children who played in these courtyards, women who drew water from these wells, men who worked these fields. The biggest questions remain unanswered. Where did the Paliwals go? How did they coordinate such a massive exodus? Are there descendants living somewhere today who carry the oral history of that terrible night? And most mysteriously, How did they simply vanish from the historical record so completely? Some historians theorize they split into smaller groups and integrated into other communities. Others believe they may have migrated to more distant regions, perhaps even beyond India's borders. A few suggest they established new settlements under different names, effectively erasing their Paliwal identity to avoid Salim Singh's pursuit. But perhaps we're asking the wrong questions about Kuldhara. Perhaps the real mystery isn't where the Paliwals went, but why their story continues to captivate us centuries later. Think about it. We live in an age where privacy is nearly impossible, where digital footprints follow us everywhere, where disappearing completely seems inconceivable. The idea that an entire civilization could simply choose to vanish appeals to something deep in our collective unconscious. The story of Kuldhara touches on universal human themes: the struggle against oppression, the power of collective action, the price of freedom, and the lengths we'll go to protect our dignity. It's David and Goliath, but with an entire community playing David. Maybe the curse isn't supernatural at all. Maybe it's something far more profound: the weight of collective trauma, the echo of injustice that continues to resonate through the centuries. Maybe the land remains barren because it carries the memory of what happened here. Throughout history, we see examples of communities choosing exodus over oppression. The Paliwal story is part of this larger human narrative of choosing freedom over security, dignity over survival. And perhaps that's why Kuldhara's curse feels so real to so many people. It's not just a ghost story, it's a reminder that some forms of resistance transcend death, that some acts of defiance echo through eternity. So there you have it, the complete story of Kuldhara, India's most mysterious ghost town. We've explored the history, examined the evidence, and considered both supernatural and rational explanations for what happened here. Was it really a supernatural curse that keeps this village barren and lifeless? Or is there a more earthly explanation for why 84 villages disappeared in a single night, never to return? After diving deep into this story, I'm not sure the distinction matters. Standing in Kuldhara today, surrounded by the perfectly preserved ruins of a once thriving community, you can't help but feel the weight of the story. Whether you believe in curses or not, there's something undeniably powerful about this place. The Archaeological Survey of India has declared Kuldhara a protected monument, ensuring that future generations will be able to walk these streets and contemplate the same mysteries we've explored today. Yet visitors still report strange phenomena: unexplained sounds in the dead of night, sudden temperature drops in the desert heat, and an overwhelming feeling of being watched by unseen eyes. Perhaps the real curse of Kuldhara isn't supernatural at all. Perhaps it's something far more human: the weight of injustice, the echo of collective trauma, and the power of a community's final act of defiance that continues to resonate through the centuries. Whether you believe in curses or not, one thing remains undeniable. Kuldhara stands as a testament to the lengths people will go to preserve their dignity, even if it means sacrificing everything they've ever known. In our modern world, where compromise and accommodation are often seen as virtues, the Paliwal's choice seems almost incomprehensible. They chose to give up everything rather than submit to injustice. That kind of collective courage is rare in any era. The next time you hear about an entire community disappearing without a trace, remember Kuldhara. Remember that sometimes the most powerful hauntings aren't caused by ghosts, but by the living memory of injustice that refuses to be forgotten. What do you think happened that night in 1825? Was it really a curse, a mass migration, or something else entirely? Have you ever visited Kuldhara or experienced something unexplained there? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of India's greatest mysteries, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We have more incredible stories of haunted places, historical mysteries, and unexplained phenomena coming your way. And if you ever find yourself in Rajasthan, consider visiting Kuldhara. Walk those ancient streets, feel the desert wind carrying whispers from the past, and ask yourself, in a world where injustice still exists, where communities still face oppression, what would you be willing to sacrifice for your freedom? Until next time, keep questioning the unexplained. Because sometimes the truth is stranger than any ghost story. And remember, the most powerful curses aren't cast by spirits, but by the human refusal to forget.